Night fell slowly over Indamu village, like a dark cloth pulled by unseen hands. The moon was thin and pale, hanging over the savannah. Crickets sang. Frogs croaked near the river. Far away, a drum beat once, then stopped. In the center of the village stood an ancient baobab tree. Its roots were thick like sleeping snakes. Elders said the tree was older than memory. Spirits listened from its bark. Ancestors rested beneath it. That night, Abini stood in the shadow of the baobab. Abini was a young black woman, strong and quiet. Her skin shone like dark bronze under firelight. Her eyes were sharp, always watching, always learning. Many in the village thought she was just a trader's daughter, simple and calm. Few knew her true mind. The wind moved through the grass, carrying whispers. Abini heard voices. Not the voices of spirits. Not the voices of ancestors. These voices were foreign. She stepped closer, careful not to break a twig. Her bare feet knew the earth well. She had learned to walk silently from the hunters, men who taught her after her father died. Behind the baobab, 3 men stood close together. Their cloaks were long. Their skin was pale like dry clay. Firelight from a small hidden torch showed their sharp noses and thin mouths. They spoke in a strange tongue. German. Abini understood every word. But they did not know that. To the village, Abini was known as a girl who spoke only the old tongue of her people and a little trade language. What they did not know was that years ago, before he died, her father had traveled far with caravans. He had learned foreign languages. At night, by firelight, he had taught his daughter in secret. Never show them everything you know, her father had said. Knowledge hidden is power. So Abini stayed silent now. One man spoke low and fast. The king trusts us too much, he said. Another laughed softly. By the next full moon, the gold will be ours. The land too. Abini's heart beat faster. Gold. Land. She leaned closer. The Queen Mother is the key, the third man said. When the sickness spreads, they will beg us for help. Our medicine will fail, just as planned. Abini felt cold despite the warm night. Sickness. Planned. Her fingers dug into the soil. In the distance, a hyena laughed, sharp and cruel. It sounded like a warning. The men continued speaking, unaware. The girl translator understands nothing, one said. Yes, another replied. She is like a goat. Quiet. Blind. Abini almost smiled. She pulled back slowly, hiding herself deeper in the shadows. Her breath was calm, but inside, fire rose. These men were guests of King Jabori, ruler of Indamu. They had arrived weeks ago with gifts, bright cloth, metal tools, strange drinks that burned the throat. The king had welcomed them. The elders had warned caution, but tradition demanded hospitality. Now Abini knew the truth. A plan was growing in darkness. She turned and moved away from the baobab. As she walked, the village revealed itself. Fires burned low in clay pots. Women slept with children curled like kittens. Spears rested against huts. Above all, the stars watched. Abini stopped at the edge of the forest. Tall trees rose like giants. Owls called softly. This forest was sacred. Hunters poured libation here. Elders said spirits walked freely among the roots. She knelt and touched the ground. Ancestors, she whispered. Open my eyes wider. I have heard danger. The wind answered, brushing her hair back. Leaves rustled. For a moment, she felt not alone. A vision flickered in her mind, red earth soaked with blood, drums beating fast, fire swallowing huts. She gasped and stood quickly. No, she said softly. Not my people. From the forest path came footsteps. A tall figure appeared, Elder Safu, his beard white like ash, his walking staff carved with symbols. You should not be here alone, he said gently. Abini bowed her head. I was listening to the night, she replied. The elder studied her eyes. Elders saw more than others. The night speaks loudly to you, he said. Be careful. Not all knowledge is safe. Abini hesitated. Tradition said young women did not challenge elders. But silence could kill. There are snakes in the grass, she said carefully. They wear human skin. Elder Safu's grip tightened on his staff. Where did you hear this? Under the baobab, she answered. Foreign tongues. The elder's face darkened. You understood them? He asked slowly. Abini met his gaze. Yes. Silence fell between them. Far away, drums began to beat, slow, deep. A signal from the king's compound. Elder Safu nodded once. Come, he said. This matter is bigger than whispers. They walked together toward the king's compound, where guards stood with spears and shields painted red and white. Inside, King Jabari sat on a carved wooden throne. Firelight danced on his gold bracelets. Beside him sat Queen Mother Nyla, her eyes wise, her head wrapped in indigo cloth. The foreign men stood nearby, smiling. Abini felt their eyes pass over her like she was nothing. Good. Elder Safu bowed and spoke. The earth has spoken through this child. King Jabari raised a hand. She is only a girl. Queen Mother Nyla leaned forward. Sometimes, she said softly, the smallest ears hear the loudest lies. Abini stepped forward. Her heart pounded like a drum in her chest. I do not understand their tongue, she said in the old language, keeping her face blank. But I understand danger. The foreign men relaxed, smirking. Abini lowered her eyes. Inside, she was already planning. She would pretend. She would listen. She would wait. And when the time came, the earth itself would help her take revenge. Outside, thunder rumbled far away, though the sky was clear. The ancestors were awake. Morning came with a red sun, rising slowly over the savannah. Dust floated in the air. Roosters crowed. The village of Ndamu woke, unaware that danger now walked among them like a hidden spirit. Abini rose early. She washed her face with cool water from a clay pot. Her hands were steady, but her mind was sharp. The words she had heard under the baobab still burned inside her like hot coals. She walked through the village with a calm face. Women greeted her. Good morning, Abini. Children ran past her, laughing. None of them knew. At the king's compound, the foreign men were already awake. They sat under a woven shade, drinking dark tea. Their voices were light. Their laughter was easy. Abini approached them, carrying a basket of dried grain. She kept her head low. One of the men spoke in broken trade language. Girl, come. Bring that here. Abini nodded and stepped closer. Inside, her heart beat fast. They began to speak again in German, careless now, confident. She suspects nothing, one said. The sickness will begin near the river, another replied. The water will carry it. Abini's fingers tightened around the basket. River. That river fed the whole village. Once fear grows, the king will sign the land papers, the third man said. Gold, ivory roots, everything. Abini felt anger rise like a storm, but she kept her face empty. She placed the basket down and stepped back. Go, one man said, waving her away. Abini bowed and left. As she walked away, drums began to sound from the far side of the village. Slow. Warning drums. A hunting party was returning from the forest. She turned and saw Kato, a young warrior and hunter. His shoulders were broad. His spear was stained with fresh blood from a buffalo hunt. He smiled when he saw her. Abini, he said. You walk like someone carrying heavy thoughts. She smiled gently. The sun is heavy today, she replied. Kato laughed but studied her face. Tonight, the elders meet, he said. There is talk of strange sickness near the river villages. Abini's chest tightened. So soon, she thought. That afternoon, clouds gathered though no rain fell. The air became thick. Flies buzzed loudly. Even the goats were restless. Abini went to the riverlands. Tall reeds bent in the wind. Water moved slowly, dark and deep. Women washed clothes on the banks, singing softly. She knelt and touched the water. Forgive us, she whispered. Evil plans are coming through you. A sudden cold wind brushed her neck. The reeds shook though the air was still. She looked up. Across the river stood a figure, tall and thin, its shape flickering like heat. Its eyes glowed pale blue. A river spirit. Abini froze. The spirit did not speak with words. Its voice entered her mind like flowing water. You have heard what was not meant for you. I had no choice, Abini whispered. Knowledge brings burden, the spirit said. What will you do with it? I will protect my people, she answered. Even if it costs me. The spirit watched her for a long moment. Then it raised one long arm and pointed upstream. The poison is hidden where stones sing, it said. Find it before the moon is full. The figure faded into mist. Abini fell back, breathing hard. Stones that sing, she repeated. She knew that place. High in the mountains, there was a cave where wind passed through holes in the rock, making a low humming sound. Elders warned children never to play there. That night, the council of elders gathered. Firelight painted their faces gold and red. Drums rested silent nearby. The air smelled of smoke and herbs. King Jabori spoke. Reports have come, he said. Children near the river cough blood. Their skin burns with fever. Murmurs spread. Queen Mother Nyla closed her eyes. The foreign men stepped forward, faces full of false concern. We have medicine, one said through a translator. But it is rare. Expensive. Abini watched them carefully. Elder Safu glanced at her. His eyes asked a question. She shook her head slightly. Not yet. Later that night, Abini sat alone by her fire. Shadows danced on the walls of her hut. Outside, owls called. She thought of the mountain cave. Of the river spirit. Of the full moon coming closer. A soft knock came. She reached for a small knife. Who is it? She asked. It is me, Cato whispered. She opened the door. He stepped inside, eyes serious. I followed the foreigners today, he said. They went north. Toward the mountains. Abini's breath caught. They carry heavy boxes, he continued. And they speak in a tongue I do not know. Abini looked into his eyes. The time for silence was breaking. I understand their tongue, she said quietly. Cato stiffened. What? She told him everything. The baobab. The sickness. The river. The mountain cave. When she finished, the fire cracked loudly, sending sparks upward. They plan to kill us, Cato said, voice shaking. And steal our land. Yes, Abini replied. But they believe I am blind. She stood, her shadow tall against the wall. I will stay close to them, she said. I will pretend. I will listen. And I? Cato asked. You will gather those who still respect the old ways, she said. Hunters. Warriors. Elders who hear the ancestors. Outside, thunder rolled, closer now. The land itself was growing angry. Far away, in the mountains, wind passed through stone and began to sing. The full moon was coming. The sun was sinking fast as Abini and Cato ran down from the mountains. The sky burned orange and red, like a wound torn open. The wind roared in their ears. Below them, the river twisted through the land like a dark snake. Abini's legs ached, but she did not slow. They poisoned it last night, she said again, as if saying it might change the truth. Cato's jaw was tight. Then the whole land is already bleeding. They reached the edge of the riverlands. Smoke rose from small fires. Women cried. A child screamed in pain. The smell of sickness hung in the air, bitter and heavy. Abini's heart shook. She knelt by the river. The water looked wrong. Its surface was dull. No fish jumped. No birds came to drink. The fire herbs, Cato said. Elder Safu keeps them. They ran to the elder's hut. The old man stood outside, chanting softly. His hands shook as he held a sick child. Abini, he said, voice breaking. The ancestors warned me. I was too slow. There is still time, she replied. But we must act before night fully falls. The elders gathered quickly. Hunters came. Warriors arrived with shields and spears. Drums began to beat, fast and urgent. Queen Mother Nyla stepped forward, her face calm but hard. Speak, she said. Abini told them everything, the cave, the poison, the spirit, the clear water beneath the river. When she finished, silence spread like fog. King Jabari looked shaken. "I trusted them," he said. "I brought death into my own house." Queen Mother Nyla touched his arm. "A king who admits blindness can still see again." The elders nodded. "Bring the fire herbs," Elder Safu commanded. Women rushed forward with bundles of redroot plants, dried leaves, and glowing embers in clay bowls. The smell was sharp, burning the nose. Abini poured the clear water from the mountain into a large carved pot. Elder Safu crushed the herbs, chanting old words. The drums matched his rhythm. Boom, boom, boom. The air grew heavy. Suddenly, a scream cut through the noise. "The foreigners," a guard shouted. "They are trying to escape." Chaos erupted. From the far path, the 3 foreign men ran, fear driving them. Behind them, villagers shouted. "They must not reach the river." Abini cried. Cato and the warriors charged. One foreigner slipped and fell. Another was struck down with the flat of a spear. The third ran straight toward the river, wild-eyed. He reached the water and laughed. "It is already done," he shouted. "Your people will die." Abini felt something break inside her. She ran. As she reached the river bank, the wind rose violently. The sky darkened. Thunder cracked, loud and close. The river began to churn. From the water rose the river spirit, taller than before, its eyes burning bright blue. The foreigner screamed and fell backward. "This land does not belong to you," the spirit roared. The man was dragged into the water and vanished. Silence followed, broken only by the drums and distant thunder. Abini stood shaking, rain beginning to fall softly. "Now," Elder Safu shouted. "Before night fully takes us." They poured the mixture into the river. Fire herbs hissed as they touched the water. Smoke rose, glowing red and gold. The river seemed to fight, swirling and roaring. Abini fell to her knees, chanting with the elders. "Ancestors of blood and soil," she cried, "clean what has been broken." The rain grew heavier. Lightning lit the sky. For a moment, Abini saw faces in the clouds, old kings, dead mothers, warriors long gone. The river slowly calmed. The dull surface brightened. A fish jumped. Then another. A cry rose from the people, not joy yet, but hope. But the battle was not finished. From the village came another scream. "The Queen Mother," someone shouted. "She has fallen." Abini's heart stopped. She ran. Queen Mother Nyla lay on the ground, her breath shallow. Foam touched her lips. The poison had reached her before the cure. Abini knelt beside her, tears burning her eyes. "You must not leave us," she whispered. Nyla opened her eyes slightly. "Listen to me," she said weakly. "Evil does not only come from strangers." Abini shook her head. "Save your strength." Nyla grabbed her wrist with surprising force. "When the poison came," she whispered, "someone opened the gates." Abini froze. "Who?" she asked. Nyla's hand fell limp. The elders pulled Abini back. "She still breathes," Elder Safu said. "But barely." Abini stood slowly. Her eyes scanned the crowd. Hunters. Elders. Warriors. Someone among them had helped the foreigners. Betrayal cut deeper than poison. The drums slowed, turning low and heavy. Night fully fell. Firelight danced across tense faces. Abini felt the weight of leadership pressing onto her shoulders. The enemy was no longer only outside. It was within. And now, she had to uncover the truth before it destroyed them all. The night was thick and heavy, pressing down on Indamu village like a dark hand. Fires burned high, throwing long shadows that twisted across the ground. The drums beat slowly now, deep and serious, like a heart struggling to survive. Queen Mother Nyla lay inside the healer's hut. Bitter smoke drifted from the doorway. Elders sat outside, silent, their faces carved with worry. Abini stood near the central fire, her back straight, her eyes sharp. Someone had opened the gates. Someone had betrayed the land. She looked at the people gathered, hunters with blood on their spears, warriors gripping shields, elders holding staffs carved with ancient signs. Fear and anger lived in their eyes. Bring them all forward, Abini said, her voice calm but strong. King Jabari turned to her. You speak with authority, he said quietly. The ancestors demand truth, Abini replied. And truth does not wait. One by one, those who had been closest to the foreigners were brought before the fire. Guards, traders, servants from the king's compound, even healers. The fire cracked loudly. Abini walked slowly in front of them. Under this fire, she said, no lie survives. She stopped in front of Musa, a respected gate guard. His hands trembled. You were on duty last night, Abini said. Musa swallowed. Yes. Did anyone pass through the gates? No, he replied quickly. The wind suddenly shifted, blowing sparks toward him. He flinched. Elder Safu raised his staff. The ancestors reject his words. Musa fell to his knees, crying. They promised me gold, he sobbed. They said the sickness would spare my family. A roar of anger rose from the people. They lied, Abini said softly. Evil always lies. Musa was dragged away. Abini continued. She stopped before Zala, a healer's assistant. Her eyes darted back and forth. You mixed the river water into the Queen Mother's drink, Abini said. Zala shook her head violently. I was told to. By Elder Queni. Gasps spread through the crowd. Elder Queni stepped forward slowly. His face was calm, too calm. I only followed new knowledge, he said. The old ways are weak. Abini felt rage flare. You turned your back on the ancestors, she said. For what? Queni smiled sadly. For power. Before anyone could move, the fire flared high. A shadow rose behind Queni, tall, horned, eyes glowing red. A spirit of judgment. The crowd fell back in terror. You fed death to your own blood, the spirit growled. Your reward is ash. Queni screamed as the shadow wrapped around him. When it faded, he lay still, his body cold. Silence fell. The drums stopped. Abini closed her eyes briefly, steadying her breath. Take Musa and the others who helped the foreigners, she said. They will face exile at sunrise. The people nodded. But the danger was not over. Abini felt it again, that heavy pull in her chest. The full moon rose, bright and round. A sudden horn blast echoed from the village edge. They are back, a guard shouted. More foreigners. Torches flared as shapes moved in the distance, armed men, many more than before. They came for revenge, Cato said, gripping his spear. Abini stepped forward. No, she said. They came because they think us broken. She raised her voice. Tonight, she said, we show them who owns this land. The drums exploded into fast, furious rhythm. Warriors formed lines. Hunters took positions in the shadows. Women carried firepots to the rooftops. The foreigners advanced, guns shining in moonlight. Abini felt fear, but she did not let it rule her. She walked to the front alone. The leader of the attackers laughed. Where is your poison now? He mocked. Abini spoke in perfect German. It has returned to its owners. The man froze. Before he could speak, Abini lifted her hands. From the forest came a roar. The stone spirit burst from the ground, shaking the earth. From the river rose the blue glow of the river spirit. Wind howled as unseen ancestors joined the fight. Chaos erupted. Warriors charged. Spears clashed with metal. Firepots shattered, flames leaping. The spirits moved among the enemies, fear spreading faster than fire. Abini stood at the center, chanting, Land of my blood, stand with us. The ground trembled. The foreigners broke. Some fled. Others fell. When silence finally returned, bodies lay still. Smoke drifted into the moonlit sky. Cato approached Abini, blood on his arm. It is done, he said. Abini nodded, but her eyes went to the healer's hut. Queen Mother Nyla. She ran. Inside, the old woman opened her eyes slowly. You stood, Nyla whispered. You did not fall. Abini knelt beside her, tears finally falling. The land lives, Abini said. Nyla smiled faintly. Then tomorrow, she said, a new voice must guide it. The fire of truth had burned. But dawn would bring judgment and destiny. Dawn came slowly, gently, like a careful apology after a long night of pain. The sky over Ndamu village changed from deep black to soft purple, then to gold. Smoke still rose from dying fires. The drums were silent now. Only the sound of birds returning filled the air. Abini stood at the edge of the village, watching the sun climb. Her body was tired. Her heart was heavy, but her spirit stood tall. Around her, warriors cleaned their spears. Women tended to the wounded. Children peeked from huts, eyes wide, trying to understand what had happened in the night when spirits walked openly among humans. The land had survived. Elder Safu approached her, leaning on his staff. "The ancestors walked with you," he said. "Few are chosen for such a burden." Abini bowed her head. "I only listened," she replied. From the healer's hut came soft movement. Queen Mother Nyla was carried outside, wrapped in white cloth. She was weak, but alive. Her eyes found Abini at once. "Bring the people," Nyla said. The village gathered under the ancient baobab tree, where everything had begun. Morning light touched its bark. Its leaves moved gently in the breeze, whispering like old voices. The exiled traitors were brought forward. Their heads were lowered. Shame clung to them like dust. Elder Safu raised his staff. "You chose greed over blood," he said. "You will walk away with nothing but memory." They were sent out, disappearing into the wide savannah, never to return. King Jabari stepped forward next. His shoulders looked heavy, as if he had aged many years in one night. "I failed my people," he said. "I welcomed wolves and ignored warnings." He removed his crown and placed it on the ground. Gasps spread through the crowd. "I will step aside," he continued. "The land needs eyes that see clearly." All eyes turned to Abini. Her breath caught. Queen Mother Nyla lifted her hand. "This woman heard danger when others slept," she said. "She hid her knowledge until the right moment. She spoke when silence would have killed us." Abini shook her head. "I did not seek power." Nyla smiled. "Power is most safe in the hands of one who does not hunger for it." The elders began to hum, low, ancient tones. The wind shifted. The baobab leaves rustled louder. From the forest edge, the stone spirit appeared, silent and watchful. The river spirit's glow shimmered near the water. The ancestors were witnessing. Elder Safu placed his staff in Abini's hands. "Will you protect the land, even when it costs you peace?" he asked. Abini closed her eyes. She remembered her father's voice. "Knowledge hidden is power." She opened her eyes. "Yes," she said. The people knelt. Drums began again, slow, steady, hopeful. Abini was not crowned with gold. Instead, ash was touched to her forehead, and water from the river washed her hands. That day, the river ran clear. Fish returned in shining schools. Children laughed again. But Abini never forgot the night of betrayal. She ordered that no foreign tongue would ever be ignored again, and no knowledge would be mocked. Children were taught many languages. Elders listened more closely to the quiet ones. Seasons passed. Ndamu grew strong. Trade came, but on fair terms. The land stayed in the hands of its people. The spirits were honored with song and offering. Often, at night, Abini would walk alone to the baobab tree. She would place her hand on its bark and listen. One night, the wind whispered clearly. "Because you pretended not to understand, you learned the truth." Abini smiled sadly. She had learned something deeper than language. She had learned that evil often speaks freely when it believes you are weak. And that revenge guided by wisdom can become justice. Moral lesson. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Never mock what you think is ignorance. And never betray your own land for gold. Because the earth remembers. The ancestors watch. And truth always rises. Just like the sun. The path to the mountains was thin and winding, cutting through tall grass and thorny bushes. Abini walked before dawn, wrapped in a dark cloth. The sky was still heavy with stars. The air smelled of cold stone and wild herbs. Behind her moved Kato and two other hunters, silent as shadows. Their feet touched the ground lightly. Spears rested on their backs. Each man carried a small charm tied with leather, blessed by the elders. No drums followed them. This journey was not for celebration. As they climbed higher, the land changed. Trees grew smaller. Rocks jutted from the earth like broken teeth. Wind whispered through cracks, carrying voices that were not human. Abini felt it again, that feeling of being watched. They reached the singing stones by midday. The cave stood half hidden between two cliffs. Black rock curved inward like a giant mouth. As the wind passed through holes in the stone, a deep, low sound rose and fell. Hum. It was a song without words. Cato frowned. I do not like this place, he said softly. Abini nodded. Neither do the ancestors, she replied. They stepped inside. The air was cold and damp. Drops of water fell from the ceiling, echoing like distant footsteps. The sound of the wind grew louder, vibrating in Abini's chest. Then she saw them. Wooden boxes, stacked against the cave wall. Strange symbols were carved into them. A bitter smell filled the air. Poison. Abini knelt and opened one box carefully. Inside were small glass bottles filled with cloudy liquid. This will go into the river, she whispered. Cato clenched his jaw. We should destroy it now. No, Abini said. Not yet. She stood and listened. Footsteps. Foreign voices. The German men were coming. Abini's heart jumped, but she quickly moved into the shadows. Cato and the hunters melted deeper into the cave, spears ready. The foreigners entered, laughing. This place is perfect, one said. No one comes here. Abini pressed herself against the cold stone. Her breath was slow. Her face was calm. She listened. When the moon is full, another man said, we release it. By dawn, the river villages will be begging. And the girl? The third asked. The quiet one. She understands nothing, the first replied. She will even help us carry boxes if we ask. Abini's lips tightened. She stepped forward suddenly, letting her foot scrape against the stone. The men jumped. Abini, one said in surprise. What are you doing here? She lowered her eyes. I was sent to bring food to the hunters, she said in the old language, pretending confusion. I got lost. They relaxed. Good, one said, smiling. Come closer. As she moved toward them, the wind rose sharply. The cave sang louder. Hum. Abini felt a sudden pressure in her head. Images flashed, water turning black, children crying, elders falling. Then another vision, firelight, drums, warriors standing together. She staggered. Are you well? One man asked. Yes, she said softly. Her eyes met Cato's briefly in the shadows. Now. Cato stepped forward with his spear. The hunters surrounded the foreigners in a smooth, silent movement. The foreigners shouted. What is this? One cried. Abini stood tall now. I understand your words, she said in clear German. Their faces drained of color. You planned sickness, she continued. You planned death. One man tried to run. Cato blocked him. Another reached for a weapon. A spear tip pressed against his throat. Silence fell, broken only by the cave's song. The wind shifted. From deep within the cave, a low growl echoed. The ground trembled slightly. Abini felt it again, the presence. A shape moved behind the rocks. A stone spirit, ancient and massive, its skin cracked like old earth, eyes glowing red like embers. The hunters fell to their knees. The foreigners screamed. The spirit's voice was like grinding rock. Blood or truth, it said. Choose. One foreigner fell to the ground, crying. We were paid, he sobbed. By men across the sea. They want the land. Abini felt no joy. Only sadness and fire mixed together. You will take your poison, she said coldly, and leave this land forever. The spirit leaned closer, its breath like dust and ash. They have already poisoned the river, it said. Abini's heart shattered. When? She demanded. Last night, one man whispered. The cave shook. Cato looked at her, eyes wide. It is too late. No, Abini said. It is not. She turned to the spirit. Can the river be saved? She asked. The spirit studied her. Blood must answer blood, it said. But wisdom may bend fate. The spirit raised one heavy arm and struck the cave wall. Stone cracked open, revealing a hidden tunnel where clear water flowed. This water runs beneath the river, it said. Mix it with fire herbs before sunset. Abini bowed deeply. We will do it. The foreigners were bound and left at the cave entrance, guarded by one hunter. Abini and Cato took the clear water and ran. The sun was already falling. Below them, the river waited, dark, poisoned, and angry. The turning point had come. Now the real fight would begin.